So at Labour conference, we did a video. We always do a video at Labour Party conference. It's part of my job. We're doing one at Conservative Party conference, which we also do every single year. What we do there is we put questions to various politicians and the grassroots. One of the themes this year was, is Labour still a broad church? That was obviously promised during the leadership election. So in the spirit of that, I interviewed a range of people. Actually, I interviewed people like Chris Bryan. I interviewed Wes Streeting. And on the left, I interviewed people like Nadia Whittam, Lloyd Russell Moyle, and I also interviewed Jess Phillips, who I've interviewed actually several times before. Now, let's have a look at this clip because it caused quite a lot of a stir on social media.
Is Labour still a broad church?
Yes.
But do you think when yesterday the head of the disputes committee in the NEC said we're going to shut
You're asking me about things I know nothing
Well, he
about.
just said we've got to finish the job and close the door on the hard left so they can never return. Is that very broad churchy?
Yeah, but I mean, the reality is what you've got to shut the door on is the thing that didn't get us elected and caused absolute grief. The Labour Party conference is like really, really nice and friendly. You're here. You've been let in, Owen.
I know, just about. 200,000 members have left.
But it's not for me to say why people shouldn't. I'm not going to say that people have to stay in the Labour Party if they don't want
why
to.
Don't they
in
feel,
my
they don't feel
constituency,
welcome?
all the same members are there. Like, what I hear being talked about here just doesn't marry up with the reality on the ground in my constituency.
But they've left. 200,000 people have left the Labour Party.
Well, then, you know, others have joined. I have left and rejoined the Labour Party a number of times in my life. Like, I think that left-wing views are perfectly
welcome.
And also I think that loads of us have them and are painted as not having them by people who have their own agendas.
Who are they?
Almost everybody in the Labour Party is left-wing.
Are they?
Yep.
Is that true? Well, why is it that we had Labour MPs ending up, you know, for example, defecting to Change UK and becoming Tory peers?
Do you think they were always left-wing? I can think of a reason why Luciana Berger defected. Can you?
What about Ian Austin, who was appointed by the government as a crossbench peer?
You're just talking about like different individuals. I don't. You know, you have to ask Ian Austin.
Do you think Chuck Munna was left-wing?
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
I mean, I've never studied him. He doesn't live rent-free in my head, so I don't know.
There is a right of the party and a left of the party. Like, there's a left of the Tory party.
Of course, but I'm constantly...
you're on the right.
No, you see, that's where you're wrong. What makes you say that? What is it about my politics that makes you think I'm right-wing?
Okay, where do I start? Do you support, for example, would you support introducing a top rate of tax for people earning over 80 grand?
I mean, I'm not going to commit to fiscal policy, but of course, people who earn more should pay more tax.
Yeah, well,
of course.
Yeah, but okay, so you would go.
But I would have to look. Unlike you, Owen, I would have to look at how these things were going to affect the economy rather than just holding up a sign.
So you're left wing in the abstract.
No. I'm left-wing in the world that I live in.
Okay, so but it just...
I spend my entire life trying to fight for people who have absolutely nothing on the basis of equality, on the basis of all sorts of other things.
Sure.
And the idea that I'm right-wing because I don't want to hold a banner of certain people...
In the context of the Labour Party, I'm saying you're on the right.
Okay, you can say that.
Because you wouldn't... So, for example, would you support...
Frankly, you can say whatever you like.
Well, yeah, it's democracy, I suppose. Yeah. But you wouldn't support, for example, nationalisation of water or energy.
I once said I would nationalise your mum. Like the reality.
I think she'd be delighted to be nationalised.
Yeah. Well, like
the people's mum.
Of course, I believe that public services should be run for the good of the people.
So you'd nationalise utilities if you could, all utilities.
If there was no cost and there was no, if I lived in a world where there was no downside to the moon on the stick, then of course I'll have a moon.
That's just saying I'd be left wing if it was possible. That's what you're saying.
You have to work to make it possible, and you don't make it possible. You don't make it possible when you don't win elections. How's it going for you? Anyway, I've got to go.
How's rock going for me?
So the response amongst Jess's army of online fans was Owen Jones destroyed and owned. And obviously, as you can see, I've been completely crushed into the dust. Yeah, I suppose what I'd say about that particular clip is this, really, because I think what fans have focused on is they were like, I was calling her right wing as in a conservative. But as I made clear in the video, what I was talking about, and obviously that's kind of direction she wanted to go in. What I was interested in is Labour still the broad church, which Keir Starmer promised in the leadership election? And he harks back to Harold Wilson, where you had Tony Benn in the cabinet, for example, but you also had David Owen, who ended up founding the Social Democratic Party. So under Harold Wilson and then Jim Callaghan, you had the Labour left, centre and right in the cabinet. It was a broad church. You don't have that anymore. You don't have people who support Jeremy Corbyn at all in the shadow cabinet. So that's, at the same time, 200,000 people have left overwhelmingly on the left. So that's the point. So the point about the Labour Party is there's always been what's known as the Labour right and the Labour left. And many people on the Labour right call themselves that. They're often known as the old Labour right, predating New Labour. And they organise themselves with, for example, Labour First, which is the organised old Labour right, and then New Labour, which is more on the right than that. Doesn't mean they're right-wing as in Conservatives. It just means they're on the right compared to the left of the Labour Party. That's the point. That was the whole point, not me saying I think Jess Phillips is a Tory. Don't think Jess Phillips is a Tory. Just think she's on the right of the Labour Party. And the difference that I was teasing out there was the argument between often the Labour left and the Labour right is the Labour left will say policies like nationalisation of utilities is both politically possible as well as good, desirable, whilst the Labour right, if they think nationalisation is a good thing, and they don't all think that, but they will say it's not practical. That it would be great to have, as Jess Phillips says, a moon on a stick, but it's not viable. And that's the difference, if you like, between the Labour left and the Labour right. Labour left will go, nationalisation is very popular, it's also practical. The Labour right will say, well, I'm afraid it isn't actually possible, and therefore we have to prioritise doing other things instead, which aren't as drastic. For example, maybe toughening up the regulator of energy companies. So philosophical difference. That was the point of that exchange, if you like. Now, the reason we posted it is because just quite colourful. It was quite colourful, but we also couldn't put it in the main video because the videographer thought it was too long, and we had other people from her side of the Labour Party, so we released it. But as you can see, it was about being owned and destroyed, and actually, as you can see, I have been smashed. But that's the philosophical difference that was being explored in my conversation with Jess Phillips. That was the point of the conversation. And it is just it's just the way, if you like, it's how different parts of the Labour Party see the world and see what is politically possible, if that makes sense.